1994. We are March. We are the North Sea in Danish oil sector. It's a Sunday. It's a regular day. We need to have a test here to a re-injection on a well, high pressure test here. We will set up for that. I'm there on a team. My senior Joe, he is leading this instrument lead. We are setting up the equipment. We are around 10 a.m. Alpha platform and well number 8. We all knew there was a target we had to meet. We started with the morning briefing and permits and everything, and then start setting up very easy. And it was not seen as any complex because we had done pre-tests and everything on this, so it should actually just be a normal day and a routine job. We are starting the test. Pressure is applied. Pressure going up. The idea is that this should trip. It's the safety device for this gas re-injection well. Trip point is not achieved. Joe is taking us about 420 bars. As I recall, he was saying, it's not working. There's a few corrections trying to fix on the spot, but in the end, it's abandoned. The time is now around 12. 12 is a Sunday. We need to go to our lunch. All the senior staff and manager leave us, so it's only the two of us. While I'm approaching the area there, just going around one of the big columns there, bang, something happened. I'm lying on the grating. I'm looking actually on our host platform. On the grating there, my body is in an awkward position, and I can feel my hand is shaking in my glove. What is this? And I see that now, actually on my coveralls, I actually have a line here. There's pain, but I cannot really understand what it is. Then I'm looking at the other side. I see actually Joe lying on his back, and he's totally filled with hydraulic oil. I'm yelling to him because I could feel this start to fill up. I'm bleeding. So please find a rope, find something. So I fumble over to him, and he's already come up. We find a rope we have there, and we can see this is something had happened to our test equipment. And he's going to the phone booth there and call emergency number to the CCR and alert, of course, the emergency response team. Next thing I remember, I'm actually lying on a stretcher and holding my hand, and I can really feel the pain. It's my arm. I'm thinking, that's strange. It's not raining today. Why are droplets hitting my face? It's my colleagues. They're actually sweating. They have to go up to level 5 in the cellar deck, up the staircases. They're in a hurry.
So it all started on a Sunday afternoon. I was with at my parents' house when Thor called me. He was offshore, so he called me and told me there's been an accident and that he was injured, pretty bad. So it was quite difficult for me to find out how bad it was. He told me that he would be taken in by the helicopter later that evening, and I could meet him at the hospital.
De vidste ikke, hvornår de kunne komme ind med helikopteren. Så jeg ventede jo spændt, men der gik jo rigtig mange timer. Jeg tror, det var 11 timer, der gik, inden han kom til hospitalet.
So finally, many hours later, he arrived at the hospital, and we could see that it was quite a damage. It was a hole through his arm.
We were choppered in. Was then taken to the theater. So they plastered and put my arm together. The following day also a specialist looked at it and they tried to assess, because the problem was if you have the bone, it's called radius here, there was only like 2 parts left. They tried actually to put some medical equipment, or so to say arrangement here to adjust my arm and put it together. And it took a few months. Lucky enough, it was only 2 weeks actually in the hospital.
Og vi så fik at vide, at de kunne behandle ham. Men jeg var meget bekymret og ulykkelig på ham. Og jeg var bekymret for, om han kunne bruge sin arm igen.
After these 2 weeks, when I off the should we say, medication, the heavy medication, painkillers and all that, I realized I couldn't walk. I checked my knee and found out that there was a surgery, keyhole surgery needed. and I was scheduled for that a month later. That was successful. Now really since the incident, 5 to 6 months have gone, and that should be celebrated. So me and my wife, we actually took a trip to our capital to enjoy ourselves, extended weekend, to treat ourselves. Been through so much pain and so much concern and what will happen with me and all that. We were standing that afternoon, I remember it as it was today, hearing just a nice concert, and as you do, clapping your hands. But after a few minutes, I was feeling extreme pain. My arm twisted. I actually turned to my wife and she could see I went pale, sweating, and I just put my arm back again. It was broken. Back to the hospital who was treating me, and they, of course, said that was a case for more specialists. So the conclusion was another surgery there. So they actually opened again, took out the parts there that was not really grown properly together, cut them off. So we have fresh bones, as they said. And then they took from top of my hip, transplanted that up here in my arm. So this is looking very nice today, the arm here. But that time you have to figure out, newly surgery, you can see inside here's metal bar, there's 3 screws on each side, they're popping out. This is where actually it went through the projectile, the metal through my arm. Lucky enough, that was the last surgery of the arm.
What I remember, it was a terrible time for us, concerned about the future also. What if he would never be able to work again with that arm? What would happen to us? What should we do? So there were a lot of concerns. In fact, Thor just proposed to me about a month before this happened. And I was totally excited about it, 21 years old. So we had to postpone the wedding. And that was a big thing for me. Again, a young girl with all my wedding princess dreams.
For han havde planlagt, at han skulle giftes i juni måned, men det blev så udsat.
We've been looking at villas and houses, because we want to settle a family. That was our plan. But that changed a lot. It affected, of course, straight away. The concern was when I had a knee surgery, I had an arm, will it ever be the same? Can I continue my work? You have metal bars out your arm, you have a nurse each day looking after you, you're limping, everything was like paused.
Again, I was 21 years old when it happened. Soon we had to, do grown-up things. His salary stopped immediately from the company. When they just stopped the payment, we were lost, and they were like, yeah, you can just contact the insurance company. So we did, and nothing happened. That was a big thing for us, that we didn't have any money in that period. It was terrible. Thor was injured and no money on the account, the wedding. It was a lot of things for a very young couple.
I was also advised, because there was also a psychiatrist attached, said the best you can do is the nature. Start now, you can walk again. Go in the park, go out in nature and enjoy the sun, hear the birds. You're alive today. This could be much worse. I was lucky. I was lucky so much that I was only hit here in the arm. Had I been a few seconds faster, it would be my stomach, my solar plexus. My good colleague, Joe here, as I said, very senior and so on. And he lost some of his pride. We would say technical pride, because he knew and he regretted so much, and he came and apologized. I said, stop. Don't need to apologize to me. I know you're so professional and you did it under the pressure we had. But he also did not really take his normal role anymore, He ended actually after, was it a year or two, to be, don't get me wrong, but actually he went to be a material clerk. But he was never the same. Joe was never the same afterwards.
He had his job, his colleague had other jobs, and I guess when you work in a place like that, or many places, you have got to rely on your colleagues, that they do their job. You cannot control everything that happens. You cannot check what all your colleagues do, and then things like this happen. But it was, of course, an accident that should never have happened.
The hydraulic pump is a high-pressure device, had a reservoir of hydraulic oil. that also have a safety device. That's actually the filling point with a plastic, plug there. So it has two purposes, of course, for the filling, but also act as a safety valve. Meaning if the pressure is over the 20 bar the reservoir is designed for, it will pop. Replace that with a solid brass plug, a gasket. Because when the pump was on the side, this vent point will leak the hydraulic oil, meaning we have to refill again, and that's walking 3 or 5 levels up, and that's actually seen as extra work and hassle. So they modified the pump. Not only one pump, but actually more pump that we actually have in the instrument shop sitting on a shelf. Joe just selected one pump that morning and actually helped him carrying that pump. Later heard me and him, assisting him in the setting. This was one point, but another point was also actually, it was not enough to this to happen, was to the reservoir, we have a pressure on 240 bar, there is a block and bleed valve. We were setting it up, and I said I was at the wellhead panel, so I went to the other side and setting everything up at the panel for the test. Joe noticed that the T-bar handle sitting actually on this needle valve that has to isolate down to the reservoir. The handle was off. It was missing. And thinking of the job, and the pressure, and the time, and the schedule. So he took the decision to try to, with the tools he had at hand, to tighten this. But didn't stop the job, because if we have to stop, we have to go for either new T-bar handle or full new valve from the wellhead platform back to the hose platform, like 60 meters, several floors up, 5 floors up, get this, and also extend our permit. And our permit was now not testing, it was actually now maintenance and this. So that was actually a new permit, the time there and all that. Okay, have to go up to a workshop, get a new, replace. He took his cable cutter. He didn't have really any spanner, so he took his cable cutter. And tightness, as he was thinking, that's fairly tight. We knew we had attention from the highest management and everybody on the platform also. So I understand how he was thinking, because it was like in the days there that we will do what we are asked to do, of course in a safely manner as we expect we are doing it, but I would say we were not pushing back on anything on this. What he told later and so on was also that he assessed the pressure is there, we go to 400 plus, so there's no issue here. Yeah, we have higher pressure, we are pressing in, we have the trip that we should verify, and that's it. That was another cause, because when the test, as I said, it failed, it was not successful, it didn't trip the system, we were above the 400 bars, he was bleeding down the pressure, and I was coming back to approach him. He remembered the last thing, Joe, on the gate, on the test equipment, 220 bars, and then boom, it happened. It was actually now the pressure from the reservoir was higher than there was in the pump, so gas came back in the little reservoir of this pump. So the weakest point now was not the safety device that was removed, that was not the threaded rod who actually was holding the end flats of this reservoir. So the threaded rod burst. I got the pleasure to get the projectile, we could say that the bolt and a little part, an inch of that threaded rod through my arm. Joe got wire, I think it was, we guess it was actually the firewall, it hit first, the flange, and then it took his stomach, and then we heard it bing, bing, bing. My thought actually when I was lying there and I heard that and I could smell gas, I hope the gas is not ignited now. It was not. Our luck. So even the years after the bolt is actually fitting here, I lost a lot of tissues, but you could actually see that is where it went through and took radius, my bone away. This is the master, the case. In 30 years I kept that. That has all the section here, lawyer, insurance, police case, company letters, surgery reports, assessments. Of course I keep it. It's a big part of it. "30 years after, I think about it. And I actually feel it. I feel it daily. I'm not full movement of my hand, but I can live with that, that's no problem. When this happened, the shoulder, everything was dislocated back, and pull it back again. So actually the shoulder, I cannot sleep on that. I can sleep maybe 1 or 2 hours, then I have a pain and something like that. So that wake me up at night. My clear advice would be, simply if you see something wrong, stop, step back, and don't modify equipment that's designed for a reason. If there is something, you have good suggestions, you need to reach out, come with your good ideas. In this case here, there was modification of some high pressure equipment. Don't modify it without this is actually validated by those who actually have designed and engineered this. But again, if some of the equipment, like tools or isolation valves, are broken or not in the state it should be, please stop. It's for your own risk, but also for others. Because in the case here, it was the colleague who was injured. Yeah?